東南アジア、ミャンマー。2021年の軍事クーデター以降、軍による市民への弾圧と殺戮が続いています。なぜ彼らは同じ国に生きる無抵抗な市民を残虐に殺せるのか。今回私が話を聞いたのは、そのミャンマー国軍から離反した元兵士の男性です。彼が明かした軍の内部は私たちの想像を絶する異常な洗脳と恐怖で支配されていました。さらにその残虐な組織のルーツには日本との深いつながりが隠されていたのです。同じ国民に銃を向けるミャンマー国軍の恐るべき正体に迫ります。現在はですね、ミャンマー国軍を離脱し、タイのメーソートに拠点を置きながら国軍に対するカウンタープロパガンダ、つまり今国軍に所属している兵士たちに向かってですね、民主派に加わるようにプロパガンダ、宣伝行為をしている人たちの拠点にやってきました。ただですね、国軍を離反する、国軍から離脱するというのは非常に危険な行為で、もちろんね、ミャンマーに戻れば極刑にね、処される可能性もありますし、国軍から目をつけられるリスクもある、命を狙われるリスクもあるということで、今回もですね、建物の外観などは取らずに、この拠点の場所がわからないような形で撮影をしています。これからですね、ここを拠点にそのカウンタープロパガンダの活動をしている元国軍の兵士にですね、なぜ国軍を離脱することにしたのか、具体的にどのような活動をしているのか、そういったところを深くインタビューをしていこうと思います。ここのピーポーズゴールというのは具体的にどういう団体ですか？
ここはですね、ミャンマー国軍側にいた元兵士たち、いわゆる人々を弾圧しているミャンマー国軍ですね、に所属していた人々でありながら、彼らにそういった残虐行為とか、正当性のないようなその統治とかですね、そういったことに疑問を感じて離脱した人々がですね、こちらで集まって、CDM、非服従運動ですね、彼らには言ってしまえばその公務員の一種であった彼ら、軍人たちが離脱して民主派側に加わり、またその元同僚たちですね、今もミャンマー国軍側で戦っている人たちとか、そちら側に加担している人たちに向かって、いや、あなたたちのやっていることは間違っていると。私たちのようにその民主化側に側に立って、平等とか正義、またその民主主義っていうものの側に立つ人々を加わって、そのクーデターを起こした国軍側に加担しないようにしましょうと。そういうことをYouTube だったりとか Facebook とかで発信しているという、そういった人々になります。またですね、その発信するだけじゃなくて、その彼ら逃げてきた人々に雇用を作ったりとかですね、いろんな取り組みをしているところを見たことあるんですけど、例えばスマホの修理とか、バイクとか自転車を修理するような仕事とか、要は離脱しても、タイでもやはり非常に不安定な立場に置かれるので、またその元国軍ということもあって、民主派側の人々からも疑惑の目だったりとか、あまり信用してもらえないようなところもあるし、そうすると困窮してこちら側でも生活ができなくなってしまう。で、また常にその強制送還されるような恐怖に怯えて暮らすということになってしまうので、良心に基づいてその銃を下ろしてですね、この民主派側に加わった人々に対して、ちゃんと雇用とか安全な場所を提供するということも彼らは行っています。
ニュースだけ見ていると、やっぱり国軍のなんていうんですかね、残虐な行為がやっぱり報じられることが多いので、国軍の人たちがみんな野蛮なっていうかね、すごい恐ろしいイメージを持つ人も多いと思うんですけれども、クーデターが起きた後、国軍の中から離脱したり、国軍に対して反感を持っている兵士たちっていうのも、少なからずいるんですかね。
そうですね。その辺はちょっと本人にちゃんと感覚として聞いてもらえたらなと思うんですけど、やはりその現場ですごい残虐行為をしている兵士たちと、またその交換の人たちとの間でもいろいろなギャップがあるというふうには言われていて、彼なんかはそのクーデター以降に人々を弾圧して、非武装の市民に対して、銃撃したりしているような様子を見て、彼は、なんていうか、非常に強い違和感と拒否反応を示したんですけど、周りの同僚たちはそれ手を叩いて笑っていたりとかして、そういった状況に対してこのままではまずいと思って離脱したというふうに言っていましたね。なのでそういう良心のある人もいるし、そういういわばまだあちら側にいるけどこちらに情報を流してくる、いわゆるですね、内通者、
スパイのような役割を果たしている人、
スイカと言われてるんですけど、
外側が緑色で中は赤って、緑色が国軍の色で赤がそうですよね、
いわゆるスイカですねが、ミャンマー軍側にもいたりして、そういうところから情報を取ってきたりとか、そういうことが行われているみたいですね。
なるほど。久保田さん自身がこの元国軍の人たちとどうやってつながったんですか？
はい、彼らはすごい積極的に発信しているので、僕たちもですね、ドキュメンタリーを作る中で、やはりこういう民主派側の人々の話だけを聞いていると、なぜそもそも国軍の人間はこんなことをするのか、その残虐行為の理由だったりとかもそうだし、そもそもなかなか外側の人から理解できないような事情っていうのを、もう少し中の人から話を聞きたいと思ったのがきっかけで、その彼らの活動を通じてですね、ミャンマー軍の特性とか、彼らが受けてきた教育の内容とかですね、そういうのを知ると少し解像度が高 高まるかなと思っています。
なるほど。まあでもある意味命がけで YouTube 活動をしているような人たちですから、ちょっと貴重な機会だと思うのでいろいろと話を聞いてみたいなと思います。
そうなんです。僕もだから非常にいつにも気をつけて彼らとは接しているんですけど、本来はね一番顔を出したりとか名前を出して活動するというのの最もリスクがあるタイプの人々なので、こうやって取材を受けてくれることがですね、すごい覚悟を持ってやっているんだと思います。
彼ら自身も YouTube やってる時は顔出しでやってるんですかね。
はい、自分たちのチャンネルで自分のその顔とその元の所属とかも明かして発言しているので、もちろんここで発信するということも彼は合意しているわけですけど、その行為自体が非常に勇気のあることだと思います。
この拠点の名前が People's Goal という名前なんですけれども、その People's Goal というですね、YouTube チャンネルもやってるみたいで、ここに銀の盾がありますね。10万人を超えたという銀の盾もあります。皆さんもこれもしよかったら調べてみてください。チャンネル登録者 16.2 万人いますね。People's Goal というチャンネル。はい、皆さんもしね、気になればぜひチェックしてみてください。Thank you very much for your cooperation today. Why did you decide to leave the Myanmar military?
အဓိကကျွန်တော်ထွက်လာတဲ့အကြောင်းအရာပေါ့နော်ဒီစစ်တပ်ကဒီနိုင်ငံရေးထဲမှာဝင်ပြီးတော့လောက်တာလက်မခံ
Mainly since at the beginning the Myanmar military trying to involve in the Myanmar politics, so he don't like it at the time already, and also the military against its own people and the public, especially after the coup. The military treats its own people really worse and they kill, tortures or so violence at the time. But before that, and although he don't like it, they have their own a responsibility and duty or something like that. They just perform themselves. But especially after the coup, military is worse done before, and after they treat his own people really bad, and even for him there was a kind of potential he have to involve to arrest the people or to do some violence or something like that. That's why he decided, okay, I cannot do this shit anymore. He quit the military.
What was the life and atmosphere inside the Myanmar military?
မြန်မာစစ်တပ်ထဲမှာတော့အဓိကတော့မြန်မာစစ်တပ်မှာအဓိကတော့လူဒန်းစား2ရက်ရှိတာပေါ့နော်လူဒန်းစား2ရက်ကအဓိကပါလဲဆိုအုပ်ချုပ်သူလူဒန်းစားနဲ့အုပ်ချုပ်ခံလူဒန်းစားပေါ့
In the military is the atmosphere is there's only two kinds of people. One's a ruler and the other is the people who have been ruled by those. The rulers are especially recorded officers, officer by the military, and they rule. And also there's other kind of people is they are kind of normal people in the military or something like that. Even and also doing the policy or the deciding only controlled by a small group or the higher position people, and they became the policy makers. Even a very high position people, they can do it. That's why the other people is just a kind of for their, how can I say that this is the tool for them, or it's a kind of, how can I say that, for the strong word is to use. Only the people on ground is just for use for the officers or something like that. Like this situation in the military. And also they create a kind of new society in the military, kind of separated society. They provide school, hospital and other facilities in the military, and also that is why the people inside the military become a kind of depart from the normal people out in the country, the people inside the country. When the coup happened, even the kind of normal civilians, they face the kind of all the military crackdown violently and seriously, or they kill something like that. Mostly they hard to understand, and they don't understand or they don't realize the situation what really is, because they are so naive about what really happening inside. And also the people who rich inside the military is only the rulers, the officers. The other the private surgeons, the other families are just so poor, and even when they are they have to take a stipend and they have a kind of food age, or they have to stop their service or something like that. They don't know where to stay and they don't know what to do, something like that. That's why they have only way when they have a kind of children, or they trying to put them to the military again. That's why that military institutions suckle like that.
I'm wondering why the soldiers in the military can do brutal acts against the people in the same country. What do you think makes it possible for soldiers on the ground to do those brutal acts against civilians?
ဒီလက်ရှိဖြစ်နေတဲ့ပြဿနာတွေလို့မျိုးရက်ဆက်တာတွေကခုနကတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီလူမျိုးရဲ့ mindset နဲ့လည်းတော့ဆိုင်တာပေါ့နော်ဒီဒါဂျပန်ပေါ့နော်ဂျပန်ဒီပေါ့ဒီဒု
depend like according to the national mindset for Myanmar people. Because like even from the kingdom time, for example, like according to their natures, they hate each other and like kind of to get the throne or something like that. And moreover, in the Second World War, the base, the time of the Myanmar militaries is like became from the Japan fascist like army. At the time, they took the training from that, and also at the time Japan or like kind of system is like they very rely on and have to obey a very serious strong like a kind of essence to obey the officers. If the officers are dying, they die like that. So Myanmar military is like based from that kind of mindset. Even though Japan is like Japan army changed after that or something like that, but in Myanmar military stay using that technique like in the soldier or something like that. The problem is like even he ask the people even from the 88 generation or even other people who are very experienced those about that why that's really happening or something like that. They thought that this came from also from the stress and fear to the officers. Like for the private soldier or the sergeant or something like that, they really pissed and they really angry about the officers, but they afraid. They cannot against them or like they feel like I have no power for that. That's why kind of those stress and fear they trying to put on the people with no arm to the civilian or something like that. And they also like the system of the military is like, for example, to take the new groups or something like that. So they do for the very kind of basic people like pickpockets and all of the thieves, the liars, or the people like kind of the people who drunk or something like that. So most of the normal private soldiers are like this. So like they have no lack of educations and like they have no kind of mindsets like to be a kind of proper kind of human standard or something like that. So after that, when they experience those stuff, they cannot handle that. That's why like they trying to use their angers and fear to like normal civilians, like he thought that way.
What exactly is the counter propaganda work you are doing now? Can you describe what kind of activities you are doing now?
အဓိကကျွန်တော်လုပ်ဖြစ်ရတဲ့အကြောင်းရင်းကတော့ဒါချားထဲမှာကျွန်တော်အစောကြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကကျွန်တော်ကသူများရဲ့လူမျိုးရှေ့တန်းမှာ
mainly because after he became the defenders like a CDM officers and after that like he have a choice like there are still some of the like defectors like from Myanmar military side and they go back to the front line and fight together with the PDF or like EROs like ethnic forces or something like that. But like his type is like he don't want to kill the people or like he don't want to do some kind of those stuff. So like he decided, okay, what should I do? So, and realized that like why that cases are really happening now. It is because of like according to history and for many years the military used the propaganda and tools to manipulate the mindset of the people and like very like properly and thoroughly. That's just why like now even some of the people like they support the military because they don't know or like they don't understand and those brainwash is like kind of strong for that. That's why like he decided, okay, I have to do the counter like propaganda stuff and like even if they got like one or two or like a very few is okay but he thought that like I need to do my best like to do those stuff program provided by the people from the military. They interest and they watch it, they found out. And that's why even sometimes kind of special work like the people from military they don't like it, so like they trying to like analyze and also sometimes like they use it like really like or like swear or something, say the bad word or something like that, so they might consider why that's really happened or something like that. So he trying his best like to do those stuff even now like kind of even according to the global states like trying to cut the media budget and support for that. Even though like they are trying their best, like even individually or in with the group, they keep carrying on like to do those stuff for the people to know that what is right or wrong and like those are like a shit and those are fake and you need to came out with it or something like that. They are trying their best until now, yeah.
Has your work actually convinced any soldiers to leave the military? What kind of responses do you receive so far?
ကျွန်တော်လည်းရင်းနှီးတဲ့လူတွေတငယ်ချင်းတွေကတော့ကျွန်တော်အဲ့လိုမျိုးကျွန်တော်အဲ့လိုဆက်သွယ်ပြောဆိုပြီးတော့ ထုတ်ခွဲမှုတယ်ရှိ
Yeah, of course he did. Like he trying to convince the people, especially who familiar or like some friends, like he know that. And also even they defect, they join CDM or something like that. But still, like there are some people like who really want to do the defect or something like that. But because of like family or the thing is like some are like a specific age or some have a many reasons like okay if they came out of the military they don't know what to do, they don't know what to do for a living or something like that. They work even for kinds of people, even for himself. He's tell them okay don't do it, don't do defections. Like you have many reasons like very hard for family or the other reason. You can even you don't do defections like or you don't do CDMS. If you stay have a kind of chance if you could help us for something like a and you know watermelon works is a kind of spy from the buying revolutionary side or something like that. Okay, if you have anything like you could help us, you can do it. You don't need to do defection and like keep work. That even he explained that like this.
I heard from Toru that people's goal are trying to create job opportunities for people who escaped from Burma. What kind of job opportunities do you make?
အဓိကပြည်သူ့ပိုင်းနဲ့ပြောပြတာတွေကတော့လက်ရှိဖွင့်တဲ့သင်တန်းတွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့ဖွင့်ခဲ့ပြီးတဲ့သင်တန်းတွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းပါတယ်ဖုန်းပြသင်တန်းတွေ
As a people who they provide before that like for the people who defect or like who came here like to create a job opportunity. They make a different kinds of training like including for fixing the phone and also like fixing the e-bike or bicycle and also electric tools like air conditioner like fixing and like kind of installation like this. Moreover, not only that, they do after they finish the training, they try to connect the people who can invest or like the people who want to do a shop or small business or something like they trying to connect with them and they trying to support to build a small business for them.
Do you have any message for viewers in Japan about the current situation in Burma?
အထူးကတော့ဂျပန်လူမျိုးတွေကိုအဓိကပြောပြချင်တာကတော့မြန်မာနဲ့ဂျပန်နဲ့ဆိုတာတကယ်တော့မကင်းပါဘူးမစိမ့်ပါဘူးဒါတမိုင်းကြောင်းအရာ
I want to share the people from the viewers from Japan. Like he want to tell the like Japanese people, Myanmar and Japan are not stranger at all. Like according to history, they have a very strong relationship. Even for the Myanmar military now, it's like before the like a very small group like who took the military training from Japan or something like that. So that's why like even like Japan's like along the history they help or they have a project with like even military government. But the mainly is like he believe that like this is like especially the support for peace and like a kind of for the people and he understand that. And also the revolutions is like we are mainly doing to do the like freedom and democracy. Same like Japan. Even at the beginning, like some of the people don't know that. Like kind of the people might thought that we are like aggressive or like eager to arm or something like that. No, at all. Like about 1 or 2 years, like we protest peacefully and we show like to stop like doing this coup like peacefully. But they military brutally crack down and like they act violently. So the armed revolutions like this is just a final answer. That's why the organization now the Myanmar people they choose it and like they doing their best now. That's why so he want to tell the like now Myanmar military are trying their best to get the, like proper legitimacy for themselves. So in that case as a Japanese like people or something, please don't allow them to get a kind of proper legitimacy or the budget, the support like from the international organization, and also even trying to like some other country like blitz them. In that case, it's like please like participate for the Japanese people too. And also like the coup happened, the Japanese people already have a lot for the Myanmar democracy. In that case, it's like and also some of the defector like they trying to because some of the countries like closed already for the migration or the refugee stuff, but like with many different ways, some of the defector even and some of the people they are going to Japan by their own way. But Japan governments like when we welcome and Japanese people took care of them, we really appreciate for that. And also like yeah, please like still in that situation, it's like Myanmar people and like the people who joined the revolution like still need help a lot. In that cases, please help as much as you can like to build the Myanmar revolutions like become into Myanmar democracy.
Thank you so much for your cooperation. Yeah, I really appreciate your cooperation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so good to see youရတယ်ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါအမ
His sister, elder sister is in Japan.
Oh really? Oh, elder sister.
Javila.
What time the sun and Nella?
Oh, don't know.
Don't let your wife.
Don't let your wife, no?
Don't let your wife.
Yeah, she went there with the training visa around 2022.
Ah, okay.
It's now over 3 years.
Ginoji is which prefecture?
Kuat near young wife, when Nagoya Bella,
Nagoya?
Tibet down by Tibet or Yala, not Tibet from my Yala. Jojo never they know we don't.
Nagoya?
Yeah.
The last sister,
Yeah.
like whose brother is a PDF, was also in Nagoya.
Oh, she's also in Nagoya, right? Go to.
Yeah. Japanese people can feel closer to Myanmar. You introduce like some Myanmar people in Japan.
So Japan never say about Wally. That was said, I don't know. Wow.
It's like you feel a kind of strong instant or like kind of relation with Japan since he was like a high school student. Like he found out like loving like studying about Japan. Also like even he can like draw by heart Japan map.
Oh,
like
really?
in the wall map. Like he can draw my heart.
Jojo immediately about my whole kind of John.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she go.
Even he know like the specific geolocation of the Japan or something like that.
What does he like about Japan?
Japan နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးအဓိကတော့အဲ့ဟိုပါပေါ့ရှင်ကျေးမှုပေါ့နော်သူတို့ဆက်ဆံအဲ့လိုမျိုးဟိုဖြစ်တဲ့ဟာပုံစံလေးသဘောကျတယ်နောက်တော့သူတို့ရဲ့အကြိုက်ဆုံးလေးစားတဲ့အကြိုက်ဆုံးကတော့ဟိုပေါ့
He liked the culture and the tradition of the Japan's like it's so lovely. And the other thing is like he found off is like the nature of the Japanese people and like the mindset of the Japanese people. They took the responsibility. They took full responsibility. For example, even for the nowadays, like in the current situation, like if they make some mistake or something like that, even though like a minister or like the person in charge, like they quit and they publicly like announce that for apologize or something like that. Even along the history, although like some of the officers they make a mistake, they do how do you call that?
Oh yeah, seppuku.
Yeah, seppuku. But like it's not a good thing. Like it's a kind of suicide. But sometimes along the history, Japanese people take the full responsibility. Kind of samurai tradition, but even now like kind of samurai mindset or something like that. That's kind of like he respect, and that's really good.
Can you ask him like do you watch Japanese anime?
ဂျပန်စကားအရင်တော့တန်းတော့လို့ပါကြည့်ရယ်ပြီးတော့ဂျပန်နောက်ဆုံးဟိုဇလန်တွေရှိရယ်လေဒီ Shogun ခေတ်ကဟိုနောက်ဆုံး
Generally, he don't watch anime.
He doesn't
He watch like especially the movie that related with the historical or the cultural related with the stuff or something like that. Even like he watched the last series. It's like it's released recently, and that one is like related after I think American left. Like so, this is kind of the series, and he loved that and also.
He's very serious.
Yeah, he's very serious.
Thank you so much for your cooperation. It was very long interview, but it was very understandable. I deeply understand your activity and the situation. Thank you so much. ありがとうございます。Thank you.
ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါ
Thank you. さっきのインタビューの中でも彼がもともとビルマの国軍っていうのは日本軍第二次世界大戦中の日本軍が礎になってるっていう話してましたし結構やっぱりこっちで取材していると日本とのつながりを指摘してくる方が非常に多いですね。
そうですねいい意味でも悪い意味でも日本とミャンマーのつながりというのは強くありまして、今日、先ほどゼイヤーさんが言っていたことも今ね国民を殺して虐殺しているそのミャンマー国軍ですねその礎となったのは日本の帝国陸軍が実は育てた部隊がその元となっているって話をしていました。実際になんか憲兵隊っていう言葉とかが今ビルマ語でまだ残っていたりとかするんですね。でその恐怖の象徴としてそういう軍のスパイとかですねそういうのを憲兵隊っていう言葉が残ったりとか良くも悪くもねそういう絶対的に命令に逆らってはいけないっていうその軍隊の仕組みとか実際その日本のその陸軍が作ったようなその経典みたいなものをしばらくそのミャンマービルマ国軍が教材として使用していたこともあったりなどしていていわばそのファシストのそういうエッセンスというかファシストの本質的な部分が組み込まれている、それには日本のもともとその戦争の時の責任っていうのも残っているんだということを私たちも知っておく必要があるんじゃないかなと思います。
Is she your wife?
Yes, my wife.
Oh, okay. How many years have you been together? 6 years. Are you working together as People's Gold?
Yes, people. Let's see the people go Malay to do well local.
What does she do in People's Gold?
နှစ်ခုပါဖွဲ့မှာကူရရတယ်ဟိုမှာစစ်သားတွေလာ
She took the two responsibility and people go. One is like some of the like the people or the defectors like from military like for example that they defect and they need something like that. So she work with a team from people go to make this kind of to provide the supply for them. And the other thing is like she join with the even in the people go with the training team, and she train for like a humanitarian law and the transitional justice or something like that, some of stuff. So the people who defect from the Myanmar, so like they trying to deliver the message and the training provide for them.
So you guys met in the military? How did you meet?
အဓိကဟိုပါဘောစစ်တဲ့ထဲမှာပဲဒါတိုင်းရန်ကုန်တိုင်းမှာတူတူပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော်ကလေတက်မှတ်တယ်
Yeah, they met in the military. Like he is from the Air Force, she is from the ground force, and they met in the training.
တောင်းကြတယ်
Oh, they have a duty. They have a duty and they met there. And at the time, she is also soldiers, and he is also soldier. They met in the military.
Okay.
Military couple.
Military couple. Okay.
ဗမာဘုန်းကြီးတောင်းရှိရတဲ့သူတို့ကဘုရားဘာသာကိုကရင်နေဆိုခရစ်ယာန်များမယ်လို့ထင်တယ်ဒါအကုန်စီတင်ပြရ
What do you?
မမလည်းသူတို့အကုန်စီတင်ပြတယ်
Wait. Why are you laughing? Can you summarize? I'm so curious.
Yeah. Because meanwhile before the coup, they are like a kind of just a couple, not like a husband and wife yet, not married yet. So when the coup happened, so after they defect, that they have to flee to the Karen state. So when they arrive to the KNU area, so they have a kind of monastery and they have everything for the marriage. They say, oh, you guys are a couple, come marriage. So I said, oh, that's really perfect. That's really perfect for that. Yeah.
တစ်ခါလဲခေါ်ခဲ့မှာဆိုတော့ယူလိုက်တာတရားဝင်အဲ့ဒါ
If the coup it didn't happen, it might take time, for the marriage, and also they will consider or because he also had for the exam for the promotion or something like that. But at the time he have to marry to her. So anyway they were married, but because you coup the fastest and better, he said that
So we could say thanks to coup the relationship got stronger.
Marriage, yeah.
Coup married.
Yeah, that's true. Because of coup, their relationship is stronger.
Yeah. If you talk in Burma language, I'm so curious. What are you talking about right now?
So. Of course. Because I'm Tratic guy, so if I speak
what?
Tratic, you want to know something what I'm talking. Come on, off camera.
Zagamyare という意味です。おしゃべり。So I'm wondering sometimes you are talker longer than the interviewee. Did he really
said that? 大家都是俺没有留着，我不信这样的。你看肚皮让我回来了，没有啥的。
今回のインタビューでね個人的に印象的だったのが、彼も国軍から逃れてこっち側に来た後にまたPDF、国民防衛隊のような場所に入って武力で戦うっていう道もあったけれども、そうではなく、情報発信カウンタープロパガンダで軍に対抗するっていう道を選んだ。これは僕の想像ですけれども、やっぱりもしかしたらね国軍の中にいた頃の同僚とかと殺し合いをしなきゃいけなくなるっていうね、そういう道を歩むことにもしかしたら躊躇もあったんじゃないかなっていうふうに想像しました。でもそういう道ではなくて情報発信で世の中を変えるっていう YouTube などを通じたね部屋にもね銀の盾置いてあって、もう僕も持ってるので共通する部分もあって、で情報発信で世の中を変えようとしている取り組み自体はすごいね共通する部分もあるし、年齢をね彼に聞いたら32歳って言ったかな。だから僕今31なんで1個しか変わらないんで、ほんでこっちで取材をしてると本当に同世代の人たちがいろんな活動を通じて、自由を手に入れようと奮闘しているっていう、そういう姿を見てね、今までいろんな地域取材してきましたけれども、自分自身とも共通する日本人だし、自分のやっていることにも共通するし、年齢も近いしっていう部分ですごい今回のミャンマーの取材は自分と共通する部分が多くてですね、非常に取材をしながら、身近に感じるとともに自分自身の生き方みたいなものも考えさせられる、そういう取材になっています。今回はミャンマー国軍から離反した元兵士にインタビューを行い、同胞に銃を向ける軍の恐るべき正体と異常な洗脳の実態に迫りました。日本とミャンマーは無縁ではない。どうか国軍に正当性を与えないでほしい。そんな彼の切実なメッセージが画面越しのあなたに少しでも届いていれば嬉しく思います。 そして今回の動画をもってミャンマーの現地取材シリーズは一区切りとなります。今回のインタビューを見て感じたこと、あるいはシリーズ全体を通して皆さんが何を受け取ったか、ぜひ率直な思いをコメント欄で聞かせてください。ということで今回も最後までご視聴くださりありがとうございました。また次回の動画でお会いしましょう。